great for a week or so. Not that I followed, I was cold.
I did not. Okay, I was gonna text John today and I. Okay.
So they were able to, for
That
me,
helps.
that
That helps a lot.
Call the meeting to order, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda? So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Move on to public comment. Anyone would like to speak? Anybody online? No. Okay, we'll move on to communications. In.
Okay, we got one of our two trucks back on the road this last weekend. It was helpful for that storm. In between the storms, you guys have been trimming brush along town roads. They've also been going around cleaning up catch basins from all the weeds and stuff left over from last fall. Been in contact with the county about our summer work program, so we're working on that and have attended some advocacy Zoom and in person rallies for CHIPS money.
Great, thank you. Michelle?
Tax collecting is good. We're at about 93% of our total warrants in already. A lot of people paid in full instead of payments, it seemed like, so that was nice. We got lots of COVID tests in the office. If you know anybody who needs some, send them in. Other than that, that's about it.
Have we advertised that at all
Yeah.
for the community?
It's on the
Okay, 'cause I
webpage,
haven't
it's on
seen
Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
Yep.
It's on our website too.
Yeah, and I can put it up again on the Facebook and remind people tomorrow.
Yeah, and the ones that we handed out previously, I will say that those expire in May of this year. Right?
Wow.
That is
really?
correct.
Yes, and so the new ones we got, believe it or not, expire in July of this year.
Oh my goodness.
So, you know, when we get closer to May, we'll definitely get the word out that those, if you have any of those other ones that they're.
We were able to give a full box to Pinehurst. They took a box, and told them to come back if they need them.
I'm gonna take a box to Bridges tomorrow,
Perfect.
because I've taken one in the past.
That's good.
Good. Sheldon?
I have nothing.
Brent?
And since last met, the zoning board of appeals met a couple of times. For me, it's not really about if they're approved or denied. I like the discussion. There's a lot of discussion on the board. The new appointee is jumping right in with the giving some ideas on there. And one thing that I've also talked about is with John is possibly some training similar to what the planning board did for early on this year. Probably continue talking with the zoning board attorney and the chair about setting something up along those lines. Attended the bid opening for the spray park. I'll defer to John on that. And stopping in a lot with the building and planning department still. Some of the things that they've been working on is they're putting together some binders for the appointed boards, working with the board chairs to come up with those for some guidance in their mind. Basically, almost every member would show up at the meeting with those to give them pertinent sections of the code, job descriptions, and checklists for the public meetings. Talked with Corey about the solar farm. There were some concerns about the buffer that he went out. I was out there with him last December. They'll probably be taking care of those concerns with the buffer this spring. The trees, locations, not making it through the winter. Deer were eating them, of course. They had got in, the yearly stormwater reporting. The year for that ended on March 9th. Previously, I had been doing that, completing that on behalf of the building department and the highway department. Last year, Denise and the highway department and Corey really ran with it. I was thrilled. They'll probably be involved with what they're doing now. They've got some new regulations, moving at the speed of the New York State DEC. But they'll be coming forward in future. Nothing really additional activities I have to do. It's more about reporting of those activities. I completed the court audit on my end, unfortunately, due to scheduling. Cindy and I did them on separate times. Looked good from my view of it. And then we talked last time a little bit about the community outreach, the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts. It sounds like the local Girl Scout troops are talking about planting trees on Arbor Day. I talked with Jessica Kelly through Facebook. I said, document it, please. Maybe let us know. Maybe I'll go. I'll take some pictures. The town board can recognize the girls for their service to the community. She thought the girls would love it. And then also the Boy Scouts, Tom, I think I tagged you on one of the Facebooks.
Yes.
They were talking about it. And somebody brought up E-pods. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, off the dime. Great, perfect timing for all that work.
Talk to
today.
Thomas, not just Steve.
Pointed to the Environmental Conservation Board, but it was perfect timing, I thought. Oh, and I also talked building department, planning department, maybe about putting together a quick monthly report for the town board. Just, we have this kind of permits, we assume there a violations, just communications.
That would be good.
That's what I have.
Thank you. Karen?
I have nothing.
Cindy?
I have a few things. As Brent mentioned, he and I were not able to get together to do the court books, so I did them. And Brent also did them. Want that to be noted. And with regard to the library, John attended the meeting with me last week. It was a very informative meeting, as they usually are. The library director did a presentation on the survey that the community was involved in, and they felt that they received some good info from the public. And they will review that material as they go forward. They also received an in-kind donation of a new digital display screen from Functional Communication Corporation, which is a very nice one. They had it up and functional that night. The state report for the library was submitted to MCLS, and it's now shared on the Mendon library site. The librarian also did a presentation on her, hang on, I'm not going to show it to you. Someplace. Oh, here it is. The presentation of sanity report, and this is also on there. It's very nice if any of you want to pass it around and take a look at it. So that's also on their site. They've been receiving many requests for groups to hold meetings at the library. The transition from masks optional has been very well received, and they're happy about that. The Friends will be having a fundraiser, plant sale fundraiser in April. Again, the children's activities have started. They began again in February, and it was well attended in February. This Friday from 7 to 8, Chris Johnson, a magician, will present horror in the library for teens. And I think that is it.
Thank you. Tom?
A couple things. Planning board met 2 weeks ago. Actually, agenda item number 11. You'll be taking a look tonight regarding Mendon Green. We sent that along to talk about secret tonight. As far as ECB, so Peter Carosa he's involved. I'm not exactly sure what he does, but he has great knowledge about survey maps and all that kind of stuff. And another member of the board, Peter, was able to get some digital copies of ePods that he can actually overlay on top of Google data and all that kind of stuff. And it's been very helpful. Some of it is a little like, I think like steep slopes, one, like there's two, there's 15-degree, 20 or 30-degree. One of them is corrupt. So one of the things they were talking about is the possibility of reevaluating the E-ponds, not necessarily reevaluating, but just tightening up the lines now that we have this data electronically. And a couple of projects that they've had, they're able to go back to like 1984 satellite data, and one project in particular I could think of, it had not a wetland, forest, what is it, woodland timber. And, at least back in, back to 84, there weren't any trees there. It was farmland. So one of the things I thought might be handy is getting a group together to talk about a way forward to maybe tightening up these maps. And they felt that someone from the planning board, someone from the town board, and someone from ECB, maybe getting together, brainstorming. If that's probably something we don't have the capabilities to do with the town, but whether to have another company do it or work with another company. So, Peter Carosa is a perfect person from ECB. I suggested the person over there from the town board. And, and we'll just find someone from the planning board that has it. And if, I'll have Peter maybe take the lead on it and see if maybe you can get together and just put your heads together and find out the best way to achieve that. So.
Yeah. I think, it definitely would be interesting to clean up some of it, because I think my lot is in the woodland lot.
Yeah.
And my neighbor has pictures, it was pasture land from the 1930s
Yeah.
to today. So, but at the same time, I don't think we could button it all up. I think, maybe some egregious errors.
Yes.
And then each application.
Yeah,
we can button it up a little. And I think that would be the biggest part, is when we have an application that says, okay, this is obviously not the steep slopes.
Yeah.
Make note of it so we can, next time we update those.
Yeah. Yeah, they certainly were talking about going out there with a surveyor and tighten them up in that regard, but just like you're talking about, egregious errors and so anyways, that was an initiative, and I mentioned that I bring it up from the town board, so.
It should be done.
And I think Peter has got a lot of enthusiasm too.
Yeah, he is.
But,
and it's great when you can flip through the satellite maps, like I did, going back 40 years and see what's what. So, we had a question about a pond and data was right there. So,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, just kind of let him know if they plan on spending any money, they gotta get back to us.
No, absolutely. What we are talking about doing is getting a couple of heads together and deciding what the best way maybe it's just addressing the E-pods. If they're up for review in a certain area, there's obviously a mistake. I don't know, but if we get like these three people together and just talk about it, we decide whether that needs to happen or whatever. So
I think you mentioned the steep slopes. If I'm not mistaken, that 15% is, it needs a building permit. It's not in the steep slopes.
no, exactly. And
So that's the biggest one.
yeah, exactly. It's not one that they run into too often, but we did over in Harloff. I think you were part of that one, right?
Yes.
So. And just the last thing, I've been wanting to get together with John about the youth center. Unfortunately, last week kind of got away from me, but this week I met with him, or I talked to him today, and I need to check it out this week. And my gut reaction, and this is preliminary to our meeting, is I'd like to, if possible, if the school district is behind it, I'd like to open it maybe for a month or two at the end of the school year, maybe get a little bit of enthusiasm, a little momentum. And then, as we have always planned to do, not have it open during the summer, but maybe hit the fall with a little momentum behind it. So, but we'll talk about that. So,
Okay. So a couple of things, I've been approached by the Girl Scouts regarding the, what I call the 1930s portion of the library, which would be the part closest to the road. So currently, we're obviously not using that for anything except for storage. And so they would like to use that space to have, store some equipment, and to have some meetings and things like that, which I think would be great. And they're willing to put some sweat equity into, cleaning it up, quite frankly. It needs a little polishing, so to speak. And then, a lot of the summer rec equipment is there. Some of that is also down in the basement. So, we would be moving depending on what the timeline is, we might have to move some of that equipment down to the basement, in the meantime. But they're very willing to, put the effort into it. And I think it'd be nice, space. I've got to work on getting them access to the front door because, those locks on that door on Monroe Street are, they're not really usable. I don't know if you can really access the building when it's locked from that outside. I don't know, keys and locks and that kind of thing. So I'll talk to them. Obviously, we'd be on the hook for that. But I think that's fine, that we would be, trying to get those locks straightened out, make sure we got the right keys and things like that for those folks. I'll be working, once we get more information from the engineer regarding the military memorial and spray park. I'll be working on coming up with a final budget regarding that. As Brent alluded to, we opened up the bids. There were 4 parts to the bids. One of the bids did not receive any bids at all. So, and you'll see this later in the agenda today, but I contacted Alan Reeve, who is a construction attorney. He worked for us on the library and did a great job, and talked to Alan. And so I've engaged him, hoping that we engage him tonight so that he can interface with our engineer. And he seemed to think that we did not have to rebid it, that we could offer that part of the plumbing to one of the other individuals that were already going to be on the job, that they had been a little bit around one of the other portions of it. So we'll be working through that over the next week or two. I attended our Mendon Community Business Association meeting. There's another one tomorrow. If anybody's ever interested, those are at noon. Was it second Tuesday of the month? Second Tuesday of the month. And they move around. Tomorrow is at Mendon 64, but they move around at various places in the hamlet. Let's see, I did a webinar on effectiveness of claims reporting and one on multi-year planning. I also went to Seneca Falls for the rural development. It's just, quite frankly, we're not in a position to get any of that grant money because we have too affluent of a community. And but some of the money that they were throwing around there kind of did make me a little bit unhappy, for lack of a better term, that the state, when the state employee gets up and says, I got to get rid of X number of dollars by X date, so please, put an application in. It just kind of makes me wonder about the state. Also, I signed a letter from them that all the supervisors in Monroe County signed to the governor regarding the accessory dwellings that I've mentioned and written in the Sentinel about and forwarded on to all of you. Michelle mentioned we have lots of test kits. Next Sunday, Ben Huel has an Eagle Scout ceremony here at 2:00. Any of you would like to attend, please RSVP. I believe I forwarded that to everybody. If I didn't, let me know. Danny has been good and it has a calendar now on our website. So if you go to the calendar and click on the date, you can see which meetings are when and that kind of thing. I thought that was a nice addition. And there's also something in the that's being floated around with the state to require all, you'll appreciate this. Only homes built with electric heating from here on out. They're trying to reduce emissions and that kind of thing. So
Didn't even include the ability for geothermal in that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's great. Well, I should say it's great. I
It's
just,
a different kind of great.
Yeah, tongue in cheek, great.
it's
Sarcastic, great.
not gonna pretend I understand, but anyway.
Do you think there's a letter going to the governor about that also?
There's a supervisors meeting a week from today, so I'm sure that'll be on the topic there, but I would not be surprised because I think there's some fairly radical things going on there that obviously somebody thinks it's a good idea, but anyway, we'll move on to supervisors monthly report.
I make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the supervisor's monthly report for February 2022.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? It's relatively early in the year, but everything looks good at this point. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Move on to town clerk's monthly report.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge the February 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we'll do minutes for February 14th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular town board meeting as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, go ahead.
Not really on these ones, but after this, we're only missing 1 month, correct?
Yes, 2 meetings in December.
The 2 meetings in December.
Yes. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have budget transfers and adjustments.
Make a motion to approve the following budget adjustments from B 1990.4 contingent account $68 to B 4540 .4 ambulance contract with some
Second.
2 seconds.
So this was, that was the number we got for the ambulance back last summer, and it increased, or that was the village, excuse me, for the ambulance last summer, increased by $68. Have that transfer in there. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Vouchers?
I make a motion to approve all claims and vouchers numbered 22-131 to 22-219 on general abstract 22-03 in the amount of $270,361.92.
Second.
Any discussion?
The biggest expense was the fire
Mhm.
department in Honeywood Falls. Just so that everybody's aware.
Thank you. So we signed the fire protection contract several months ago. So that's what that's for. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
And I also would like to let everyone know that library vouchers numbered 22-022 to 22-036 on library abstract 22-03 in the amount of $3,859.03 were presented to the town board for payment.
Thank you. So we will move on to number 11. This is the Mending Green project for confirmation of original seeker declaration for the current project. Jerry Watkins is here representing Reedman Associates, and I'm sorry, sir.
Rich T.
Rich Teedy told me earlier, all of a sudden it left me from, so nothing personal. But they're here representing Reedman. If anybody has any questions that they would like to address in their direction, you can see I followed that up with some further information today. We have the letter from Labella regarding that went to the planning board back on February 24th. We have the environmental conservation board site review report. And we have the town of Mendon planning board determination of consistency with intent of PUD regulations for the Mendon Green subdivision revised proposal. Also another letter from Labella dated today regarding the seeker.
Before we get going, I just wanted to, just for clarity, transparency and disclosure, I just wanted to, I recently noticed that I have a mutual client with Reedman Corporation. This is by no means any kind of a quid pro quo. My contract's not with Reedman. It is, there's no, and I was not referred to my client by Reedman. So like, once again, this mutual connection will not affect my impartialness to this application. I'm just saying this for disclosure at this point.
Thank you. So is there a motion for the
After saying that, I'm so moved.
Second.
any discussion, or any questions you have of the Reedman representatives?
It's pretty self-explanatory to
It's
me.
self-explanatory. I think, for myself, obviously 30 is less than 54, but I wanted to know some logistics of it. I know that we have the fact that it's been to the ECB, the fact that it's been to the planning board, the fact that our engineers have looked at it. And, I know that our town legal deputy attorney has looked at it also. I think that, it's pretty, you're always going to have, there's going to be some kind of coordination after this with the DEC, the Department of Transportation, so on and so forth. It's going to help. That's how we know that it's going to be less of an impact.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that we had a fairly, turned out to be a fairly lengthy resolution is that this has been going on for, a long period of time. And I think it's important that we chronicleize this in the minutes so that, someday if somebody's looking back at it and go, well, how did all this come together? They should be able to read this and go, obviously this is a synopsis of 16 or 17 years.
Yeah.
But still, it's a good roadmap as to how we got from 2005 to 2022.
One thing I did notice in the original seeker is it was for a private community with private utilities. Yes, the town was not going to be plowing the driveways. In my opinion, if the town maintains it, it makes no difference environmentally. It's still being maintained, it's still being plowed, just
Right.
things that one half doesn't cover.
In the original application that was put forth by Chuck Ryan, it was supposed to be like kind of a I don't know, gated community type thing, a private drive, et cetera. So with an HOA, so that has definitely changed.
I had the option or the opportunity to sit through the presentation the other night. One of the things that I was pleasantly surprised by is, again, of the roughly 90 acres. There's, is it like 14 acres, the development will be on, what's the number again?
It's about 15 acres.
15 acres, yeah, so there's a lot of green space,
72% of the property will be conserved as green space.
so I thought that was interesting.
And this is only for seeker, correct? I mean, this is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this effectively, Sheldon, correct me if I'm wrong, moves it back to the planning board.
Well, there's two separate things here. This one is just confirming the original negative declaration, which I don't see how anyone could argue with that. We have a negative declaration and then they reduce the size of it. How could it not still be? So I think that's real simple. But then the other issue is the planning board needing our consent to continue with consideration of the preliminary site plan. Those are two separate issues.
They, so you feel they need the town board's consent to, this doesn't automatically give them their consent, even though they received a preliminary site plan in 2005?
Correct, because under the code, code section 260-16.1G, preliminary site plan approval may then be given only with the consent of the town board. But in my mind, this is kind of a no-brainer. The seeker, there should be no issue on, and I don't think there'd be any issue on the town board giving consent to the planning board to go ahead with preliminary site plan approval. I think they're two very simple issues, but they're two separate issues.
So we can revise this motion, it would have to be another motion.
Well, I guess you could, but it'd probably be a lot simpler if you just did a separate one.
Yeah, that was my impression, is that this was just to go back to another planning board meeting. And ultimately, we'll, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll have the final approval on this, on the site plan. Correct? The board.
You're talking to me or Sheldon?
Yeah, anyone.
Gary, you want to add something?
Yeah, we'd appreciate if the town board would consent us getting back to planning board, so we'd like to get rolling on this.
Yeah, we can do that. They're just two separate issues. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
So it's been moved in second. Do you want to continue with this at this point?
Yeah, sure.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So,
I have that second resolution drafted, if you want to consider it.
do we need to have a motion to inject that in the agenda?
It wouldn't hurt.
You want to add that at the end?
Oh, edit at the end, or right now.
Well,
When I do it now, you're on the time.
Yeah,
we'll do it now, okay?
I'll second it.
Who did a motion?
Yeah.
It's just a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay.
So then I will move to, well.
Well, let me
Yeah,
give you
yeah,
the,
vote.
it's typical, it's one of my resolutions, so it's very lengthy.
Oh, dear.
The town board hereby consents to amending green preliminary site plan approval being granted by the planning board. That's paragraph 1. I'll give this to you. Paragraph 2, this resolution shall take effect immediately. So that just gives the planning board the ability to go forward.
Sure.
So moved.
And I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we'll move on to, what was our number 12? I'm sure we can maybe change the number.
14.
For this. Our,
14.
13.
Now, in agreement with 11, then to amend the
right, that was 11, and I'm saying what was number 12?
12 was to amend we added a new.
The agenda.
Okay.
Right, but I'm saying what was number 12?
Oh, no,
Special
special
town board
town
meeting.
board. meeting.
Right,
Yeah,
That's for
now it's 14.
before you move this, I've been advised by Labella that they, because no one bid on that one part of the project, and now we've engaged an attorney, they'd like to move this meeting back to March 28th. I don't know what everyone's availability is. I'm sorry I didn't get to
Oh.
you sooner, but unfortunately this came like, 5 o'clock this afternoon.
I think this is an appropriate time to take out your cell phone.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
So before we move this, I just want to make sure everyone's available, and if not, we need to come up with a new date.
I'm fine with the 28th.
Yeah, 28's good.
Okay. Let's move it then. Would someone like to make the motion to schedule a special town board meeting on Monday, March 28th, at 7
I'll make
o'clock?
that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion above what I already gave you? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Michelle, I take it you'll take care of the legal notice for that.
And who motioned and seconded on that?
I motioned.
A second.
Okay, contract with construction attorney, C. Allen Reed.
I'll make the motion for supervisor to enter into a contract with attorney C. Ellen Reed for the construction consultation regarding the amended spray park and military memorial at a rate of $350 an hour.
I'll second.
Everybody should have his engagement letter, and as I mentioned before, he represented the town during the library. This is his field of expertise, nothing personal. Sheldon?
Well, no, actually, I would second that because that's construction law is a totally unique area. And Al Reed is very good at it. In fact, he's known statewide. He is the head of that committee in the New York State Bar Association. So he would be my go-to man for any issue like this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will only be using him when necessary, and he understands that. We're not committing to, some type of a long-term. If obviously this issue, any other issues come up during construction, he's gonna be available at an hourly rate. Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, and here again, before we go on to number 14, if there is a resolution on a separate piece of paper for this that Sheldon wrote, so if we could consider that instead of the one that's in your packet. I appreciate it.
I'll make that motion.
Any discussion?
Haven't we already done something like this with this property?
Yeah, we did, and he tore that one down, but he
Oh.
didn't tear down the other one, and so you should have copies of 2 letters from
Yeah.
code enforcement officer, one basically a year ago in 2021, other one in 2022. He, the owner of the property, used that pandemic type thing to basically try to keep this. I mean, every time I go by it, I'm quite frankly surprised it's still standing.
Yeah.
But I do think, now's the time. It's spring. Let's get this taken care of.
Right.
So with this, we are, with this resolution, we're asking to serve the owner with written notice that he needs to be demolished or removed within 30 days of a hearing held on April 11th. So that'll be at the next regularly scheduled town board meeting. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is a general code estimate for a supplement.
I have no information to authorize contract.
Second.
So every time we pass a local law, general code lists it, but it's over on the side where it says new laws. If you ever go to our website, look at the code, and this integrates all our new laws into the code. Which, we don't have to do every time we pass a new law.
Yeah.
But we should do it probably annually unless we don't have any, obviously. Because it just makes it simpler for everybody to look at the same place, for the same information.
Right.
Any discussion, other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we'll move on to contract with the Village of Honey Falls for ambulance.
I'll make a motion to contract with the Village of Glen Falls for ambulance service for the town of Mendon outside the village of Glen Falls for the 2022 calendar year not to exceed $131,701 from account B 4540.4.
We gonna, is the town and village gonna continue negotiations, or not negotiations, but meeting to discuss the plans, the future for the ambulance?
Yes, yes. So this has been going on for, quite frankly, years. And, you know, we found out when Muffy Mice did a report that we were basically that the extra revenue that the village was receiving from third-party revenue did not get attributed to our contract. So the reason that we went forward with that report was because the former administrator of the village informed us that our contract was going to double. So that led us to, you know, taking a little closer look at this thing. So that is where we are today. This contract for ambulance service is always a interesting one because it is based on three things. It's based on call volume, it's based on assessment, and it's based on population. So there, and West Bloomfield is part of this contract. So we pay the most amount of money. The thing that bothers me is that, you know, when the ambulance gets called to town hall, it's Pittsford Ambulance who comes. When the ambulance gets called to the school for a spouse of a town employee, it's Pittsford Ambulance that calls. When they got called to the home of the former town clerk, Pittsford Ambulance responds. So Lima was part of this contract years ago, and they used to pay. They don't pay anymore, but they are receiving services from this ambulance. And so the indication now is that I received from the mayor is that before it was Lima got called. Well, Lima does not have staffing for their ambulance during the day, and it's only basic life support. So if the call is advanced life support, or basically between 8 and 5, Honey Falls gets called automatically. So while this ambulance that we're paying for is in Lima frequently, Pittsburgh has to backfill here, and I think you ran into it with.
Yeah, actually, it was
At
Farmington.
your house.
Yeah, Farmington.
I did at my house too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way I understand it is that Lima said they're not paying any more than what they're paying. They're already paying for their own ambulance, and they're paying through their county tax for Livingston County ambulance for ALS, advanced life support. So the mayor says that the mayor and supervisor of Lima are going to let Livingston County know that if Lima can't do if they get a call and they can't respond, it's going to Livingston County for response next, instead of coming down to Honey Falls for response next, which is something I've been pushing for probably 5 years. So how long that takes and what are the nuts and bolts of making that happen, I don't know. But I'm hopeful that that does happen because quite frankly, the ambulance that we're contracting and paying for should be available for our residents. Now, there's always, mutual aid and, bad car accidents, unfortunately, things like that require more than one ambulance. Nobody's saying we wouldn't respond or the village ambulance wouldn't respond to that, or we're not saying, please don't respond to it. We're saying, yes, we want them to respond because quite frankly, if we have a tragedy here, we may need Pittsburgh's ambulance or Lima's ambulance or somebody like that to come. So, you know, this has been ongoing, and I think, quite frankly, that we're in for a fairly sizable increase, because this is the information that they go on for setting up this contract is always a year old. So I have a feeling we couldn't be in for a sizable increase a year from now. So that's where we are. I mean, it's a very complicated setup. It was set up years and years ago, but I'm confident now that the third-party revenue is all being contributed to our contract or putting into a reserve fund, in the village for replacement vehicles for the ambulance. And that has been our concern from the beginning, because the gentleman who was, for lack of a better term, the chief of the ambulance, I'm not sure his exact title, when we first started talking about this 4 or 5 years ago, was complaining to me about their equipment. So we definitely, you know, in the end, I'll say again, as I've said every time, this isn't about the individuals who work there or volunteer there. I've heard nothing but good things about them, but they can't respond to us if they're in Lima all the time. And nothing against Lima. It's just that Lima needs to take care of Lima, and our residents should be paying for something we're not getting. In my opinion.
I agree.
Anything else? Brent, you sat in a couple of meetings.
No, I think you pretty much summed it up. I think it's very important we continue to meet with them and continue on the path that we're on to look at the call volume and the cost involved with this.
And that's one of the reasons, quite frankly, why I haven't put this forward to the board to sign until March, because I've wanted to hold their feet to the fire a little bit to keep this thing going. But they're reaching the end of their budget year, and you know, if we don't sign this and pay them, they're going to have some financial issues probably going forward. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So I'm going to pass 2 copies down. If you could sign both, please.
Okay.
And then I'll get them over to the village tomorrow. Next, we'll talk about the sidewalk agreement with the Village of Honeyett Falls.
Make a motion to authorize supervisor and enter an agreement with the Village of Honeyett Falls for snow removal at the Mendon Public Library sidewalks.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
John, I'm wondering who has been plowing that?
They have.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just.
We just haven't really, we really should have an annual agreement with them, and we haven't lately. We did in the beginning, for the first few years after the library was built. But you know, they're there, they have the equipment.
Right.
I mean, I think Andy would tell you that if he had to drag equipment over there to plow a couple hundred feet of sidewalk, it would take a sizable amount of time during a snow event where his forces could be utilized better at that point in time. And they're already there. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the contract with Suburban Animal Hospital.
Make a motion to authorize supervisor to enter a contract with Suburban Animal Hospital for stray dogs or injured animals to expire 12/31/22 as per contract.
I'll second that.
So for discussion purposes, you know, I think it was last meeting, we entered into a contract with Hollywood. However, this would be for emergency veterinary services. And originally they did not want to contract with us.
They didn't want to contract with anybody, it wasn't just us, any of the other municipalities, but apparently they've changed their mind. So I think this is a good idea because we can utilize them if we have any, if dogs hit by a car or something like that, we can utilize them, where before we really didn't have any ability to deal with an injured dog, really.
There's nobody in the town, and
They're not interested in.
they're not, okay.
Joel Taylor, who's our dog control officer, he approached the
Okay.
veterinarian hospitals, and they were not interested.
So this does say, it says for stray dogs or injured animals, so we could use both places for stray dogs?
And yes,
Okay,
and Hollywood is quite a bit less expensive.
okay.
So, if it's just a stray, Joel will make every effort to get them over to Hollywood, because they really, when the chips were down, they're the ones who really stepped it up.
That's right, I agree, yeah,
So,
okay.
hopefully we never need them, but, because I found out that one Sunday, it does come up.
Yeah.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next is athletic field use.
Make a motion to allow Blaze Soccer for field use at Dresden Park Fields on Summer Road on the scheduled dates approved by the supervisor at a cost of $400 per year annually.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? They have used it ever since they were built, and first year they were used was maybe 2010, 2011. At that point, the town board was emphatic that they, were fine with them using them, but we didn't want them to use them, every single night, because, quite frankly, the community paid for them. The community should be able to use them. So they're using them, I think it's 2 to 3 nights a week for several weeks, and you can see that on their application there. This was the same group that came to me and wanted to expand the number of fields that are at that location. So I did have a chance to speak with the athletic director from the school. And that was a good opportunity to hear what he had to say about the number of rectangular fields that are available in the various sports, and, what's available in the community and things like that. One of the things that they did mention was people from Blaze was the condition of the fields at Summer Road, and so I said, well, what's wrong? Well, from time to time, and I'm like, well, if you don't, Andy doesn't send anybody out there to walk every day. And so if they don't tell us, we don't know.
Right.
But I mean, I think the highway department's done a great job of, keeping those fields up and making them playable. And I'm not aware of anything there that's, dangerous. By the same token, we're not gonna build a dome. So I think we're just gonna progress with those. We've definitely got enough on our plate right now with the Splash Park Military Memorial. And what I told the folks from Blaze is I said, when this project is completed, and we start talking about next year's budget, we will take any additional fields on Semmel or anywhere else on town property into consideration. Sounds. Did we vote?
No.
No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Back to public comment. Seeing none, is there a motion for adjournment?
I have a public comment really quick.
Oh,
You were talking about the dog kennels, and just so you know, when I was at the Monroe County Clerks Association meeting on Friday, all the Monroe County clerks are getting together, working to try to find a kennel for Monroe County, just so everybody knows.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good, because that is something that I was hoping that the county would get on board with. I also recognize that county probably, that isn't gonna be a quick fix.
Yeah, so they are, there's an existing building somewhere that's attached to a dog warden already, and so they're adding kennels and trying to come up with a way to make it big enough for everybody,
Super.
but just came up. All
Super.
right, now adjourn.
All right, motion for adjournment? Which one is going to second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
So my parents will see it.
That replacement. Hi, Lauren.